We're up to the Siman Shin Lamed Ches. So, a lot of the halachas today, we will be able to clarify in the next Siman in a more detailed way. This Siman deals with noise, musical instruments, door knockers, making noise. So the Mechaber writes, Hashmas kol bekli shir aser. Using an instrument on Shabbos is aser. Now, why is it aser? Says the Mishnah Berurah. Now, first of all, lav dafka bekli shir, alaf biyad. The truth is, as we'll see in the next siman, even not an instrument, using your hands to make music is also a problem. To clap in a way that's musical is also a problem. As both the problem by all of them is the same, and that is we're afraid that you might come to fix an instrument. So obviously, if you're using the instrument and it snaps, you might come to fix the string. And if you clap, you might come to take an instrument and fix it. Now, when it comes to clapping, why is it that the minhag Hasidim is to be makel to clap on Shabbos and they dance on Shabbos? Is a heter, it's a heter of Taisvis. That's Siman Shin Lamed Tes of Gimel. We'll deal with that then. Okay. Now, the Mishnah Berurah does right. If let's say you need to clap to make a kid happy or to quiet the kid, your loss is at klachayad. As we'll see in Siman Shin Lamed Tes, there's such a concept of clapping kalachia, which is the back of the hand. Instead of clapping with palm to palm, it's the back of the hand to the palm. Okay, we'll deal with that. Now, they would have these metal instruments where they would put water in, and it would sound like rain to make it nice. I'm sure they still have these things. So that the Mishnah Berurah says is also, because that's also called an instrument. Now, if it's a chayla, if someone's a chayla, he can't sleep. The only way to sleep is to have that some sort of a rudimentary white noise machine that there's makom to be makel. And if you mamish use it in order to wake up the person, that's also mutter. Okay, because that's not considered klishir unless it's pleasant, aggressive is not klishir. Back to the mechaber. So using an instrument is aser. Derech shir, but to knock on the door with your knuckles, that's fine. Because that's, even though you're making noise, that's not considered musical. Says the Mishnah Berurah, even though you are making noise and your intention is to make noise, you want them to answer the door. But you're not making music. And therefore, afilu makish b'kli, kivan she'enoi derech shir. Now, the Chaber's Shita seems to say that even if you use an instrument to do this, but it's not an instrument that's meant to make music. It's just an instrument to make noise, it will be allowed. The mashmaos of the mechaber would be that you'd be able to take a door knocker and use it on Shabbos. Because even though it is a kli, but it's not a musical kli. Says the Ramah. The Ramah also says that you're allowed to make music if there's no act. What's an example of this? The people that whistle like a bird. That's not considered an act. It's not hitting, it's not clapping, it's not an instrument. Whistling is fine. Now, there was a thing when I was younger, it was a European zach, that they say a yid fafanisht, which means that a Jew doesn't... it was a thing that Jews don't whistle. And the reason was, it's not a halachic issue, because as you see, the Ramah says you're allowed to whistle on Shabbos. So obviously whistling was not aser, but it was considered an unrefined act to whistle. Okay, but nowadays it's a little more different. Now the Ramah says, "V'aser lahakais b'Shabbos al hadelas b'tabas hakvu b'delas." You are not allowed to use a door knocker, meaning the Ramah disagrees with the Mechaber, and he feels that using a kli to make noise is a problem, even if it's not meant to be music. And if we're using a door knocker is a problem, similarly, also l'shamish lahakas aladels likra lebeis hakneses edei hakli amiyuchel lekach elamakav yodei aladels. You're not the Gabbai is not allowed to use the vessel in the shul. Now, what this probably is referring to is you could still see this today in Bells. Bells is a very, very large beis medrash. I can't imagine they do this on Shabbos, but during the week, the beis medrash is so big that it's very hard to hear the chazan. So they have this it's like a bat. Some sort of leather kli that the Gabbai smacks once for Omein and like twice for Yehesh Me'Rabba. In Bells is such a thing. So that's because so to do that on Shabbos, says the Ramah, is a problem. Why? Because it's not music, but it's using a kli for shir. And a kli for hashmas kol, which the Mechaber is okay with, but the Ramah is against. The reason why it's also Nageya, the Poskim do point out that a lot of times kids will have toys that make noise. Not music, just make noise. So is that a problem? So is it muksa? So according to the Mechaber, you're allowed to use it. According to the Ramah, not. So because it's a machlekes, a child, you understand. I'm not talking about where it's mamash playing a song, but sometimes they'll have, they'll move a car and it'll just make a gravelly sound. That's shmas kol. So the Ramah will be against it, but the Mechaber will be lenient. Now the Mishnah Berurah does bring down an interesting shayla. The Mishnah Berurah says, look at Sifkat and Vav. The Mishnah Berurah says, Kasavataz kan ubiyerideya. The mizem muchach da asa litlis b'Shabbos arsa and hapareicha sheyesh ben pamoinim lahashmiya kol k'shapoischana aron. They used to put bells on the bottom of the pareichas. The problem was on Shabbos, when they would open up the aron, you would hear the bells chime. And that's considered, even if you want to say that that's not considered music, but it's a kli that's meant to make noise, which the Ramah says is a problem. Similarly, says in Mishnah Berurah, or to put the bells on top of a Sefer Torah. That would also be the same problem. When the Sefer Torah is moving, it's going to be making noise. But the Shach disagrees. Why? Because says the Shach, you ever notice a Shach, let's say you're a real Litvak, I'm a Litvak, so you don't dance at all on Shabbos. Shtark, don't dance on Shabbos. But Simchas Torah, which is Yom Tov, you're allowed to dance, right? Kuli al milchol days. Everyone dances on Simchas Torah, even though it's Yom Tov. So what's the head? You can't fix instruments on Simchas Torah either. So what's the answer? The answer says the Baal Tanya. That's from Shulchan Aruch. Tzarich mitzvah. Simchas Torah is a Simchas Shal mitzvah. For a mitzvah, it's allowed. So says the Shach. If we allow clapping and dancing, which is an Issa D'Rabbanan, and we allow it for a mitzvah, so you should allow it to hang a bell on a Sefer Torah for Kavod Torah. So says the Shach, you'd be allowed to put it on l'tzarech mitzvah shari. What's the mitzvah? Kavod Torah. Kavod Torah is this vague term, but the mitzvah is that when the psicha happens, everyone stands up. So you're actually doing a mitzvah, then now there's Kavod Torah being actively done, that people, they hear the bell, they stand up, because that means the Sefer Torah is moving. What about the Ramah who says you're not allowed, the Gabbai is not allowed to bang to answer Amen? He says, over there you don't have to do it that way. Get a guy who's got a loud voice. It's unnecessary. It's because it's unnecessary, so we don't do it. But to the Aron, I guess it was more necessary with the Parechas. There was no other way to announce, stand now. So this was a Besu. Also, he says you're not mechaven to make noise. So it's a davar shem mischaven also. I am b'shari tshuva, b'shari Ephraim, shedayte shem l'chil u'lasiskum b'Shabbos, l'chil should be machmer, u'mekayim shenagu heter b'zeh, ein l'chuziyam, but those that are mekel you should not rebuke. V'chein le'en motor l'ptayach hadelos k'sheyadei sheyesh invol. Similarly, let's say you have a door that you know when you open the door there's going to make a chime sound. Taloi gam came b'svaras hataz Magen Avraham now. Dilataz also Magen Avraham shari. According to the Magen Avraham, that if you're not mechaven, it's mutter. So too, if the door you're not mechaven to make a chime, you want to open the door, so it will be mutter. Again, we'll tell you this machlekes. Fine, and he says that the Gra disagrees, and the Gra says that if there's mamash a chime on the door, that's going to be a problem in all situations. That will stop here.